Monster, the sports social network, gives an experience tailored to the sports you love.
It's been very positive. It's actually been very positive, and that's why I felt it was important to be clear and concise and, you know, put my manifesto out there. And ultimately, you know, it's a debate. It's, you know, the great thing about elections is not just 2 or 3 people, you know, slugging it out to become president. Actually, the sport has an opportunity, as you do in any election, to have a discussion, have a debate. And the federations deserve that, and that's why I'm very pleased to be able to do, you know, to travel as much as I am, and to have the opportunity to sit down with quality time to discuss, you know, my approach. I hope I am. I clearly wouldn't be doing this, you know, if I, you know, on the basis that I don't want to be successful. But again, you know, you can't. It's an election. You take absolutely nothing for granted. You know, it's about, you know, the election is a referendum on the future of the sport. The federations are, you know, thoughtful, made up of thoughtful people who want to know what the programs are. And that's why I was very keen to get that out on the table. It's not about differentiation. It's actually people deserve to know what I think, what I feel. And in large part, I think they've known for some years you know, through the Olympic program, I've been in track and field for, this is my 5th decade in the sport in one guise or another. It's not just athletics. Trust sits at the heart of every sport. You know, trust sits at the heart of the way we select venues for sport, you know, Olympic bids, World Cup bids, World Championship bids. Trust sits at the heart of the knowledge that spectators are watching sport carried out to the highest level of integrity. And, you know, fair play is not just a concept rooted on the field of play, it's a concept rooted in the boardroom, on the balance sheet. It's very important that the highest standards are set throughout the sport. The tone and style is set by the leadership of the sport, and that is very important. So yes, trust underpins everything, because if you don't have trust, then you're not probably going to have a vibrant commercial program. You won't have parents who think that the sport is a sport for their children, and consumer sovereignty amongst parents is actually a very important concept. You know, parents are in large part responsible for the sports that their children are attracted to. Well, I've been unreconstructed on this subject for a long time, before you were born even. I mean, you know, I'm really carbon dating myself. I was the first athlete to speak to an Olympic Congress in 1981. I was given 4 minutes to synthesize the views of 38 athletes that were asked to go to the Olympic Congress. For 2 minutes 45 seconds I talked about the dangers of performance-enhancing drugs. I've authored the government report into drug abuse in sport in 1987. It was the precursor for independent, random out of competition testing that became the template. I pushed in 2007, along with my colleagues in Osaka at our congress there, to beef up the, you know, to go back to the ability to ban for 4 years and not 2 years. 2 years was never a good sanction, because it was a negligible, you know, 2 years is barely a year and 2 or 3 months. It's not a massive disruptor to a career, whereas 4 years by its very nature takes out a games, possibly even 2. So there are those things. But again, why it was important that I made it clear, I do actually believe, for all the experience that I have in this area, that we need an independent system. We need to close the gap between positive test and sanction. I think that's caused us damage in the past. I think it is really important that you remove the burden from individual federations for, you know, much of the you know, they get, you know, much of the legal challenge that is now inherent in all these. And I think that you can close down potential loopholes and conflicts very quickly by having an independent system. Yes, it will probably, there are, as the President said in his interview with BBC the other day, there are resource implications here, but I think we do have to find that.
Does the success of athletics in sort of a marketing sense, does that depend on the big stars being there and being available to be in front of cameras, such as Usain Bolt?
Yes.
In this country, just getting his
Yes.
What if they weren't there?
Yes. It was unthinkable. It's what is Barcelona without the six big names? What is Chelsea without Hazard and Drogba? Of course, the public are attracted to head-to-heads. The public are attracted to the best of their generation. What gets my kids up in the early hours of a Sunday morning? It will be Nadal slogging it out with Federer in the Australian Open. It will be 8 time zones away. It'll be the denouement of Formula One in Singapore. We know that's what it does. So our sport does need, and we have some extraordinary talent out there, but our sport does need for them to be seen regularly, to use social media in a smart way that makes young people feel that they're even closer. You're not going to attract young people into a sport any longer because those romantic old days where 20 erudite paragraphs in a national newspaper is not enough anymore. You have to really be much more creative about the way you get into the landscape of young people. But no, fundamental to this is the well-stocked shop window. And if you have the Usain Bolts and you have the David Radishas and you have the Sanya Richards and you have the Valerie Adams and you have the Bondarenkos of this world, you need them out there.
Can I have to conceive of a world without Usain Bolt post-20?
Yeah, one day. Yeah, one day. And that will be a challenge. And I've noticed that where I've often been to events where Usain has competed and people have left the stadium. We have to address that, and we have to redouble our efforts to remind our audiences that we are a broadly based church of a sport, and that there are some extraordinary world-class talents out there, but they may not all just be 100-metre sprinters. Maybe even a few 1,500-metre runners. I think we've got, I will look at that, but I do think that for, 2 4-year terms, with the potential within the gift of the sport to extend that by a 3rd term again within their gift is important. I don't think we should have an open-ended period. And I do genuinely look. I think I think an incoming president would clearly want to make a mark within the first 4 years. I think 8 years is a perfectly reasonable period. If you can't make a mark in 8 years, you probably shouldn't be doing it anyway. And it then leaves the sport with the option to at a congress to offer a 3rd term. But my instinct is 2 4-year terms is not unreasonable.
And age limits, is that something?
It's something I've looked at. If I'm successful in August, I don't think that would be an issue that would have a bearing on me. But I'm not. I think we've got to recognise a number of things here. Age is not an index of fitness or mental dexterity. It's a number. There are some 40-year-olds I wouldn't leave in charge of the remote control on my television set. There are some 80-year-olds that I learn from every day of the week. So we've got to be quite careful how you would think about that.